Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Hey, and welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is Alexandra Dotcheva. Say hi.
Hello there. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. I was reading through your story right before we got on the show and found it just so fascinating. So tell us a little bit about what you do. What's your business and how do you make money?
Okay. Several different ways. To be able to make money several different ways. But I am a real estate investor. I own my own rentals. I manage my own rentals.
Ooh.
I also recently wrote a book, and I also have a job as a nurse because I still want to stay useful to people, and people now need nurses. So I've been a nurse for 12 years. I'm a late starter in life. Okay, I'm 46 years old. My first profession was classical violin. I came to the States and earned my my master's and doctoral degree in violin. I earned my bachelor's in Bulgaria because I immigrated from Bulgaria at age 24. But then the market shrunk for musicians. Orchestras started bankrupting between 2006 and 2008. And then I embarked on the nursing career. I went to nursing school after having been a musician for 26 years. It was a difficult decision. I had no scientific background whatsoever. So I had to start all over with school and trying to get a full-time job, which I did in 2011. So I have been a nurse for, like I said, since 2011. And in 2014, I purchased my first investment property. I decided to become a real estate entrepreneur. And that was tough because it was a fourplex. So I had not purchased ever real estate before. So that was my first real estate property. And not only did I have to fix the property like one house, or fix 4 apartments, because of course the previous absentee landlord had done pretty much absolutely nothing for the tenants and treated them like dogs. So I decided I wasn't going to be that landlord and property owner that treats tenants like dogs, because I had been a tenant for 14 solid years in the United States, and I figured I can do better as a landlord. So all these budgeting and planning and dealing with contractors, banks, lenders, everything just came all of a sudden. And I was still relatively new to nursing, because 2-3 years into the nursing, that's like you've been a nurse for 5 minutes. So I was still learning that on top of learning to be a real estate entrepreneur. So it was very interesting and a great learning curve, but it taught me perseverance, discipline, and really focus on the goals and being less distracted. And that was it. And then the real estate business took over very nicely. And now my boyfriend and I are completely financially independent. We paid off our 3rd-year loan on the house for 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
My nursing loan disappeared in 4 years. And all these loans, we made them disappear very fast while still building all the time cash flowing assets.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I was writing notes while I was listening to you speak. And one thing that I thought was really interesting was, I think you're the first person that I've spoken to on the show that made such a drastic, I don't even want to say it's like a drastic difference, but it's such an interesting pendulum swing to go from music and creative right into science and taking care. So that's interesting. What made you, I know that you said you wanted to be useful to people, but why nursing specifically?
Well, for one thing, I had been in college for 11 years, Angie, before I decided to go on nursing. And I realized that nursing was in demand and I was going to be guaranteed a job if I was good as a student. And I wasn't going to be in school for another 11 years. That was imperative, because after 11 years in college and you have nothing to show for it, you figure, well, what is a shorter school time and guaranteed job? And nursing was definitely the profession that just screamed at me. And I used to like biology as a child. I had very minimal biological preparation in the music school in Bulgaria, because it was 12 years of strictly music school and minimal science, like really ridiculously little. So it prepared you for music, but you were dramatically dysfunctional in any other areas of life as far as real life is concerned. So I also wanted to understand real life. I wanted to understand better human suffering through disease. And it turned out to be way different from what I imagined, because yes, you understand human suffering, you help people, but you also see how disease is used to make profits. And that was very eye-opening, very disappointing, very discouraging, disturbing. So I made it a mission to really be a strong patient advocate. And since I'm adamant about health, I'm a health freak and fitness maniac. So I teach my patients the best I can, because I'm lucky to be a home care nurse. You have much more one-on-one time with the patient and can teach them the things that you see are can be improved in their lives, so they are not a constant decade-long commodity and asset to the healthcare system and pharmaceutical industry. So I made it a mission to be that type of nurse, and patients are very appreciative. Do all of them listen? No. But that's, once you teach them, that's of course their choice.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I was writing again while you were talking about that. And it seems like your entire approach to everything is people first, which is amazing. Like you said that when you were talking about building your rental empire here, and you were like, I can be a better landlord than this. I can treat people well in the process of this.
I wouldn't call it an empire, really. I don't want to be super big, because once you're like big multimillionaire, billionaire, then more than half of your fortune goes to insurance agents, accountants, and lawyers. So how much do you want to depend on these people? You have to make that decision early in the process. But I am a self-made millionaire. I never thought that would happen to me, because I came from a family that was very oriented towards work and studying and languages, but never towards making money. Practically, my parents are fantastic people, but both were them financial invalids. And I say this with all the affection I can put into that. But we have had arguments back and forth with them. And my dad passed away a couple of years ago. But people first, because I took an investment class, Angie, before I embarked on the real estate investment journey. And the people who taught me, that was the Rich Dad Company, Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, they were very much about, you have to create a win-win situation between you and the seller first, and then between you and the tenant. Because you can't bank on people and expect them to be willing to work with you and cooperate. It just doesn't happen that way, because resentment quickly builds, and you have to have integrity with your clients at any level, whether they're your patients or your residents, the residents in your properties.
I love that you said the word resentment, because I don't think we talk about that enough in life and in business. It's like when you make those little decisions that feel like a compromise on your integrity, or you buy into something that's kind of setting off some red flags, but you're like, you talk yourself into it. Those are ripe breeding grounds for resentment, which is the great destroyer of relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think relationships are so critical to everything that we try and do in business and in life. I don't understand why we take those so lightly and sometimes just trot all over them for a short-term gain.
Yes, relationships can destroy your health, and they can destroy your finances and other relationships. Very interconnected categories of life. And in my book, I actually view life in 5 essential pillars: health, spirituality, career, finances, and relationships. They're integral to success, but you have to keep them at high levels at all times. Yeah. You can't ignore one for the sake of the other. Everything has to be an optimal level for you to function optimally as an individual and have the self-confidence, the self-esteem in a holistic way.
I totally agree, because I think we can get in this bad habit of like swinging a pendulum back and forth, like focusing on one thing, ignoring another, and then realizing, oh crap, I'm suffering over here. Let me go focus my attention on, like, lose sight of the fact that you're striving for, I don't even necessarily want to say balance, because I think balance can be a toxic concept too.
Yes, you will strive for abundance. You got to strive for abundance.
I love that. Abundance instead of balance.
But the pendulum, Angie, it's normal. It can swing back and forth in a big amplitude for a while until you figure out, okay, so we fixed this aspect. Now let's go to this aspect. And eventually you learn to be in control of all 5 aspects. Very good control and focused. That doesn't happen immediately though. Because we all know what is drastically missing in our lives at some point. Problem is we tend to over-focus on that, and we either capitulate because we feel very uncomfortable and inadequate that something's missing in our lives, like money, okay? Or we have in a horrible relationship at some point in our life, or our health is, we have this chronic disease with potential for multiple organ damage that is sucking our bank account and insurance money. But that's the imminent problem, but then you ignore the other problems. Yet once you start fixing that problem, you will have to also recognize that everything else in your life is just as important. Yeah. And not neglected, because otherwise other people will make decisions for you that are not necessarily in your best interest.
And there's so many fascinating things that you've said here. Like, of course, they can't see the video, but you're probably seeing me like looking down from time to time. I'm taking notes as I'm listening to you, and there's so much good stuff here. Like, I want to circle back to one thing that you said that I thought was cool, which was that you were a late starter on this entrepreneurial journey. I hear so many people that tell me it's too late for me to get started, and I just, it breaks my heart when I hear that. Like, as long as you've got a breath in you, it's not too late to get started.
I can tell these people that I was one of you, ladies and gentlemen. At age 32, I had done violin for 26 years. And I come from a culture where you think that basically after 25, it's too late to learn. Unfortunately, my culture used to be like this. Now it's a little bit better. But I had to overcome this cultural understanding. And my parents were horrified when I told them in 2008 that I wanted to pursue a nursing career. And not just because they knew that nursing is one of the hardest professions imaginable, but they were acutely aware that I had zero scientific preparation or math or chemistry, anything, just you name it. And I told them, I don't care. I've hit rock bottom in my life right now. I'm not competitive enough as a violinist. The market is shrinking. And then I also went through a divorce at that time, which was an added benefit, right? Rock bottom. But I told him now it's the time, because 30 years from now, if I not do it, I don't do it now, I regret deeply that I didn't take that initiative and that inspirational moment and transform my life. And once I became a nurse and I saw how most of the nurses lived, oh my God, I was thinking I was going to coast on the nursing profession. And I saw these nurses after 50, after 60 years old, they had every disease known to man. Oof. Yet they were teaching patients how to be healthy and not be sick. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Then 80% of the nurses were broke, even though they were making significantly more handsome salaries than me because of their seniority. And said, okay, so this doesn't make sense either. Yeah. I'm not going to be one of those sick nurses and one of those poor nurses. Mm-hmm. I clearly am missing something here. There is something more to learn. And then I casually came across an advertising on the internet by a self-made millionaire who then I started reading his posts, and I came across Robert Kiyosaki's books, and I read 6 of his books, and then I bought 2 of his online courses. And that was it. I said to my boyfriend, we have to learn to invest. There is absolutely no other way to ensure that we will not be victims of the stock market like people lost their retirements in 2008. Mm-hmm. And I said, we're not going to have a 401k. That's BS. We're going to build our own assets. We're going to build our own retirement. We will not trust our money to anybody. Mm-hmm. We're going to handle our money, and we'll have to do the necessary learning and pay the money for that learning, and they'll then buy the assets.
Mm-hmm. I think that's such a great story too, because I feel like I just am going to keep coming back to, I think this is brilliant, but I really want to highlight this. The power of the right idea at the right time, and being open to something that you didn't expect. Like, I loved the idea, okay, nursing is a good profession. I think there's some solid opportunity here. I'm going to study hard. I'm going to enter this field. Whoa, that is not what I expected. I don't want to be somebody that is, like disease ridden and broke by the end of this. Something has got to change. And then you go looking for a solution and find the ideas that you need to help you get out of that situation. Do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Yes, and it's important not to abandon the job, though, while you don't have any other financial basis, because if you say, well, this is not for me, just after you have started, that's really you're a quitter, not a winner, right? So you add to the load of your shifts. I was working night shifts at that point. And I started learning about investing. I was reading in between the night shifts, many hours a day, just like I did when I was studying for nursing school. And I really didn't ever have the feeling that the learning stopped, because I was like, oh, wonderful, I'm going to have a job. There is no more learning no more learning. I can, coast a little bit here and relax and breathe, right? Well, not so much. Because if you have any sense, you will see the problems of the healthcare system within the first couple of years. Mm-hmm. If you really are honest and not like a blindfolded person and in denial of what's going on around you.
Oh, yeah.
You will see the callousness of your colleagues. So some of them question it, others just bitch about it. Mm-hmm. And very few actually do something about it. And then they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to retire at 70. I'm going to work till 80. And I no. No, I will take care of myself in order to take excellent care of the sick people I'm supposed to serve. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
I love that.
I never compromise these concepts. I am adamant about my whole foods organic vegan diet, my detox, my 2.5 to 3 hour a day fitness 4 days a week. These
Wow.
things don't get compromised.
Mm-hmm.
That's non-negotiable. My health is non-negotiable. My boyfriend's health is non-negotiable. So he's just as adamant about it because he has been a nurse for 30 years. That was his first and only profession. The things he has seen, I have learned from him so much, just as much as I have learned from my patients. Mm-hmm. Or from nursing school. I just combine all this knowledge and then I draw my conclusions and like, okay, say we have to do this in order to avoid this.
Yep.
I get that engine in my brain going about how we can do things better with our lives and still be of service to humanity without letting humanity suck all of our energy out. Because I'm sorry, but
yes,
humanity is great, but you also need to understand that you're just as valuable and important and deserving of everything you want to have in your life.
They can't see me, of course, because I'm sitting over here like fist pumping wildly while you're saying that. But yes, you are valuable. You are important. I learned something. I was a firefighter very briefly before I got.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, wow. I was a teenager. It was an impulsive decision. And ultimately, I wasn't as passionate as I could have been about it. And the kind of toxic masculinity, I was like, all right, well, I just don't want to deal with this. They want to make me quit. Cool, I'm going to quit. But one of the takeaways that I got from it, I think it led me toward where I needed to be. So I don't feel as guilty about it, but I do miss playing with hydraulic equipment. There was something pretty cool about operating heavy machinery.
That's fascinating.
and cutting open cars. Well, like one thing that they really, really tried to hammer in with us during training was this idea of you have to take care of yourself. If you are not there looking out for yourself, absolutely, then there are two victims that need to be rescued because you're in trouble now too.
Exactly. We have firefighters here in our gym and they're just in this amazing shape because we're in Phoenix, Arizona. Imagine 110 degrees in the summer. Mm-hmm. They have to be there. And you must have also done the same with this heavy equipment. You have to climb. And then in the fire where it gets even hotter with this heavy equipment, and then you have to be able to carry out a body. Mm-hmm. And of course, you have to take care of yourself. It's a demanding profession.
People used to be in total disbelief that I'd tell them, like, we would run miles in full gear. Absolutely. With the packs on, with the masks on. And they were like, why are you doing all that? Like push-ups, sprints, all of this stuff in the gear. I'm
climbing.
Like, yep, because that gives us the strength to do it for, the 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes even longer on like complicated scenes. But yeah, we like almost over-exercised, over-prepared so that you're ready when the time comes. I love that. And, I wanted to just underline that idea of that it's just never too late to try something new, to change your mind, to decide that you want to take care of yourself. I had a great story about that I think that you would appreciate it because my Aunt Chris, who's now left this world, but I remember she went back to school for her master's degree in special education. She had been an elementary school teacher for a long time and in her 60s decided to get her master's degree. Excellent. And I remember talking to her about it one day because I was just like, so what made you go back to school and get your master's degree at this stage in your life? And she goes, well, I was going to be 60 whether or not I had the degree. Might as well have the degree.
Right. And plus learning new things keeps you young, keeps your brain young. You have to have fitness for your brain, not just for your body.
Oh, yeah. That's super, super important. And the other thing that you said that I thought was super brilliant was that your business can be as big as you want. So you don't have to measure your success by other people deciding, success is being a multimillionaire, success is being a billionaire, trillionaire.
Well, because you have different viewpoints and different goals and different understanding of freedom and freedom of time as your most valuable asset. Mm-hmm. So it's a very wide concept. That could be a 2-hour conversation, of course. But I did learn that multimillionaires, they don't retain all of their wealth. You have to protect that wealth from everybody, from the IRS, from thieves, from friends and relatives, from fires. You pay the people who protect your wealth. Mm-hmm. It becomes another form of slavery as far as I'm concerned. So you can be slave to your poverty, but you can also be a slave to your wealth. Mm-hmm. So if you find the golden middle for yourself, and that's different for everybody, that's why there is no recipe to success. Yeah. It becomes very tricky. Once you get to that level, after you build your first million, your second million, then everything becomes really a matter of goals and
Yeah.
What's next?
And you have to do that deep thinking and, face that discomfort on your own.
Yes.
Because I know some people that have, they've built multi-million-dollar businesses and they've got 40, 50 people on their team, and there's a lot of complexity there. Yes. And I know some people that have built consistent, low 7-figure, they make a couple million a year, but they've got a 2-person team supporting them. One of my favorites is a lady that sells art online and art classes online. And we were talking when I was in Savannah, because I travel full time. And she told me, we take every Friday off. And then we take off a couple months in the summer and a couple weeks in the summer and a couple weeks in the winter. And I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. She keeps it simple. She doesn't add in much complexity because she knows what she needs and she's comfortable with that. And like anybody else's definition of what she should be doing, she's like, meh, no.
Yeah, she's still completely financially independent, doesn't depend on the government or the stock market or anything like this. Yeah, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And you brought that up too, because I think a lot of people associate, if they don't know Robert Kiyosaki very well and his work, they associate him with the stock market and investing and concepts like that. And I'm like, people don't realize
totally how wrong concept. He's a real estate freak.
Yes,
he can be. Yes, he invests secondarily in the stock market in precious metals and oil, but in commodities. But real estate, that's his and his wife's work. That's their passion, and they got me going on that road. Pretty soon after I started reading their books. It's fascinating how but also thanks to their company, I learned options trading through their stock paper asset coach, Andy Tanner. Mm-hmm. So we took the options trading course, and I've been trading options for 5 years now, and very good trades on my own. Yeah. Like I said, I don't entrust my money to any brokers. I do my own trades. And that's an additional stream of cash. Mm-hmm. You take the risk, you calculate the risk, and take your responsibility for your decision.
Yes. And every decision has risk. And you get to decide what you're comfortable with. I love that. I was writing that down too, because you mentioned that you learned options trading. And I think that's too much for me. I can't learn that. But again, you're challenging
yourself. That's what I thought too, though. I thought I could never comprehend any idea about a stock market. Mm. And after I got 2 years of experience under my belt with real estate, actually 1 year, then I figured I'm very curious about a stock market and I need to be literate about that, because otherwise I'll continue being a financial invalid. As far as the stock market, that's just stupid, right? I can't self-limit myself that way. And we took the course. It was fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So what made you realize, okay, so you had this head trash about, I can't learn this. This is beyond me. What was it that made you go, nope, never mind. I'm going to learn all I can about this, and this will help me?
Because I reminded myself that I had drastically changed my profession from music to nursing. And I said, if you could do this, why can't you learn financial jargon?
Yes.
What's stopping you other than your own idiocy and saying that you can't do it?
Yes.
So you have to be harsh on yourself sometimes.
Yeah, squash those self-limiting beliefs with a vengeance, because you can do anything that you set your mind to with the right people in your corner and curiosity. The thing that you said about that was like, I got curious and I started learning about this, and it was fascinating.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you learn and you find the right teacher. Suddenly that thing that you thought you couldn't do is not only possible, but like, whoa, this could be fun. Let's go do this.
But then it's important, after you learn, you need to take the action to apply the knowledge. Mm-hmm. You need to take the actual risk, because people think, oh, it's risky to pay for the investment course. No, wait till you start actually investing in the asset and seeing the real risks and losing some money, then making some money, then losing less money, making more money, and eventually consistently you start making this beautiful income. I'm a cash flow investor more so than a capital gains investor. Mm-hmm. You made that decision. Which one do you want to be? Or you can be both. You can take advantage of both concepts. Mm-hmm. But
can you tell us a little bit more about those and like why you chose the one that you did?
Because cash flow is a consistent monthly income stream from several assets. So if one of your assets gets temporarily depressed due to market conditions, you can always get the cash flow from the other assets that are booming. Mm-hmm. Capital gains, you make money when you sell something that you bought cheap and then you sell it more expensive, but it's more tax than the passive income tax. You have to always consider the taxation impact, because the most taxed income is the earned income, right? Mm-hmm. When you're the job. Then capital gains income is less taxed if you're from stock portfolio or you sell something more expensive, but like stocks growing in value. But with cash flow, depends how you get it. If it's passive income from rental, it's like minimally taxed or not taxed, depending what losses you have with renovations and maintenance and depreciation. As far as cash flow from the stock market, options trading is a great way to produce cash. Great way. It's one of the more complex ways to make cash because there are so many strategies. I just use one or two strategies that I find to fit me. And I have learned all the complex stuff, but if I don't need it, why break something that's not, why fix something that's not broken?
Oh, that's one of my big philosophies in business because I saw all the complicated and my background is in marketing. I don't know if you knew that, but like there's all of these complex automated funnels, the personalized paths and stuff like that. And I love that. And I think it's valid. And also I know about half a dozen ways that are way easier than that work just about as well. And I'm going to default to those every time because of the minimal complexity. Like too much stuff can break when it gets complicated.
Exactly. And you make the simple strategies match your personality, and then you make them even simpler, which for somebody else may not seem simple, but for you, it works beautifully. So you just use it. Yeah, I also have a little bit of marketing background, not as much as you, because I did try my hand at SEO, website optimization business and marketing, but the real estate picked up pace much faster. So then I really had to focus on that because you are responsible for renovations and budgeting. And I'm like, okay, so that's it. We're going to keep growing from real estate. And that's how my path went. But
yeah, I love this just concept of follow the steps where they go, learn what you can, and then adjust from there. Because I thought I wanted to be a screenwriter. And that's what I got. I got my master's degree. It was a hybrid creative business degree. And my goal was I'm going to be a showrunner like Shonda Rhimes. I'm going to be in LA, creating fancy TV shows, living the glam life. I got laid off from the Oprah Winfrey Network a couple of years later and couldn't find a job.
Okay.
And then like you, I read a book. It was about copywriting, this concept of sales writing. And I have learned so much about storytelling and visual writing from my screenwriting that it was a natural transition. It was still an uphill battle because I had a lot of skills to learn about building a business.
Of course, always.
But following that led me into copywriting, which led me into coaching and entrepreneurship. And like every step of the way, even when it seemed like a setback, it was actually a step forward.
That's wonderful.
I love this. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Tell us a little bit more about where we can find you. Give us some links. Where can we look at your book?
The book, the title is It Really Is Simple, A Holistic Approach to Self-Confidence, a Practical Guide.
Yes.
So the website is www.holisticselfconfidence.com. I have a paperback and ebook format on the website. The ebook format can be purchased worldwide. The paperback is mostly available in the US, but on an individual basis, we could process international orders. We'll just need to know the address of the recipient through the contact form, and then we can tell them the shipping price plus the book, and then they will decide if they want the paperback or the ebook. And I also recently placed the book on Amazon. Whatever is easiest to people. I do prefer if they buy from the website, but again, it's personal preference, and I completely understand that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, I am going to get a copy of this book right away.
Thank you. I think it will be amusing to you. I think you will appreciate because it relates a lot to our conversation today.
Well, I really liked your sense of personality and your approach to all of these things too, which is like, okay, I've got more power. I've got more agency here. Let me figure out what I need to go do and take control of this instead of...
I forgot to say one of the reasons I was such a late starter though is because I really didn't trust myself for more than 20 years. It was really a self-inflicted mentality. That's what the book mostly deals with in the beginning, how I got myself into that position and then how I had to get out of there. Very uncomfortable, very challenging. But eventually there was no choice.
Yeah.
There was no choice because I resolved I'm not going to depend on other people. I'll be independent, fiercely independent. I'll understand how to be independent. And I had no clue until I was 32 years old. No clue how to be financially independent.
I think the first time I lived on my own was at age 34. So like I get it's almost baked into society at this point that like you can't really trust yourself. You can't really depend on yourself. Like, and I love
but at the time that wasn't the case yet. At the time that wasn't the case in 2008. That hadn't become so prominent as it is right now. So I was really this weird person that didn't think I could make it on my own. And all of a sudden there was no other choice. So what do? Make it on my own.
Yep. I love that. Sometimes those things that happen to you, they're happening for you, not to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just can't see it right at the moment because you're so stressed out and overwhelmed.
But you've always got that agency. I love it. I love it. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for coming on again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Angie.
So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books. If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.